WPCentral podcast 136 for February 8th, 2012. Hey everybody, Dan Rubino, joined with Jay Bennett for our occasional podcast that we do on Windows Phone. And perhaps we'll be joined with Rafael Rivera if he remembers that this was at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and not Pacific. Anyways, Jay, how you doing?
I'm very good. I'm sporting my New York Giants shirt to celebrate the Super Bowl champions, which was an immense Super Bowl. I know you don't care about sports, but I'm going to put it out there that I was happy the Giants won.
Yeah.
There you go. That's me being American for it.
Yeah, I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I'm a freak. I don't even have like live TV to watch it if I had wanted to. So even though I'm in New York, actually though, if I was to watch the Super Bowl, I'd still root for the Patriots because technically I'm from Connecticut, so New England takes precedence.
You live in New York?
But I was born and raised in New England, and I like New England way better than New York, so that would be my choice if I had to. Yeah. New York they eat babies here.
Oh, just with the Giants. So I'm not going to go. We'll go this because people unfortunately don't tune into us, listen to us rant about sports teams. They listen to us. Actually, I'm not entirely sure why they listen to us. I think it's something to do with phones.
Something about that, and occasionally we like to do a podcast. So much for our New Year's resolution. Sorry about that, folks. We're still, it's difficult with this many time zones in the way, but we're trying. Anyways,
this is our intended permanent podcast time, we should say. We're just trying to work out whether or not it'll be a once weekly or once every 2 week podcast, or fortnightly, to use the British term. Eventually,
when I get rid of one of my professions, will be a little bit easier, I think. But anyways, let's head right into the news. We've got a lot of stuff to cover. The big thing this week, of course, early on was the Windows Phone 8 details and rumors. We still don't know the whole story behind this. Evidently, Joe Belfiore created a fan video, I like to think of it as, of him discussing Windows Phone 8 that went out to partners, Nokia, this kind of thing. Pocono either saw it or knew someone that saw it. Once again, not sure of the details here. No one has actually seen the video gone live. But in there, a lot of details were released about Windows Phone 8. I'm not surprised, I suppose, in a lot of ways by what's come out so far about...
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you would expect, I think. I don't know. Why? Did you find something like really surprising?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things in there, actually, which I was sort of looking through and trying to work out, does this have credence? Could this be a true rumor? And then, of course, Paul Thoreau went and just confirmed it all, supposedly. I could believe the removable micro SD storage because, despite the fact that at the moment we know all storage gets effectively striped across, I could believe that they're going to come up with some kind of solution to allow removable storage. It just makes sense that we should be able to expand it. I also believe the extra resolutions. I think that makes absolute sense. And the multi-core processors, despite our continual badgering that we'll say you don't need them, I believe that, unfortunately, from a consumer perspective, the spec war is important. And some people won't buy a phone until they see really good specs. I was a little bit surprised, honestly, to see that it's going to be based on the new kernel rather than sort of sticking with the old or based on the Windows 8 kernel rather than sticking with the old version, because it just seems like Windows Phone 7 is so new to go and almost rewrite it again. I may have misinterpreted what this means in terms of just exactly how much it's.
I think there's still some debate about exactly what all that means, but no, I wasn't too surprised by that, only because we know that to a certain extent this is Microsoft's long-term game plan to sort of merge everything together. Now, there was a lot of talk that this would actually happen by Windows 9, and perhaps they're moving up the timeline a bit, or, who knows the exact story behind it. I'm sure someday it'll come out. But, yeah, it's a little interesting. It actually works out well, I think, for consumers, because people who write apps in for Windows 8 can easily port them to Windows Phone 8. Yep. And so that's certainly a benefit. It has that parity. Yeah, that's kind of an interesting aspect. I like I said, I wasn't surprised by that, but it's interesting.
So we're not even surprised to see that Zune Desktop is supposedly going to be removed in support for, well, what they called similar to ActiveSync world, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be called ActiveSync.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's not going to be. It's going to be ActiveSync-ish. I mean, well,
is that going to be the official name, ActiveSync-ish?
Zune is a great program, and I don't think Microsoft's denying that. I think their game plan is to basically make Zune built into the OS. So it's not really a separate app that's going to be downloaded because, like, you think about it, what is Zune? It's a media player. it accesses the store to download stuff, and it's a way to drag and drop stuff on your phone. Well, okay, but you technically don't need a separate app for that if the OS has thought about it in advance, right? The OS is, if you were designing an operating system that's going to sync with the phone, you would think like you would just build all that into it, so that when you plug the phone in, it just recognizes. Like, why force people to then go download another software package, install it, set it up, and just have the OS recognize it so it's native.
Okay, so we'll just catch you up, Rafael. We were just talking about the about Windows Phone 8 news. As it was discussed, or should we not necessarily leaked, not necessarily, I don't know what the right word is. It's been sort of discussed quietly in the background by a video that was featuring Joe Belfiore and temporarily sort of confirmed by what Paul Farrow has been saying. And we were just talking about the fact that the Zune desktop is potentially going away. Daniel was
Thank God,
forward,
by the way.
Really? So you don't like it? There you go. There's
terrible.
Our point. It's a brilliant bit of software.
No, but Raphael's thinking, I think, from the perspective of having to work with it, right, on the software level, as far as developing locking tools, perhaps.
Yeah. I mean, the Zune connectivity components, with a phone are terrible. I mean, we've also had to use these in our Chevron WP7 stuff, and it just barely works. So any signs of that going away are welcomed with open arms.
So here's my question to both of you then. Because what's bothering me, I understand what Daniel's saying about how what we'll do is everything will get moved into Windows 8 as the platform to everything will be connected. Hopefully, we'll have a marketplace on Windows 8. But I can't see a client of some form disappearing entirely, because surely they want these phones to be compatible with Windows 7 and potentially, we've got the Mac connector now. Something along that line is going to have to stay in place. So, do you think that Windows 7 is going to get a little service pack that will bring it into the same world as being able to connect for Windows Phone 8, or do we think that we'll get a Windows 7 will get something like an Active Sync client?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I've been actually recently playing with Windows Mobile 6 stuff, and that connectivity client they have is very underrated. I think it's using, what is it called? The Windows Device Center or something like that.
Yeah, Windows Device,
Mobile Device Center. That thing's pretty nice. Aside from the gaudy graphics, it's pretty nice. I can imagine something like this rolling out, maybe a V3, because I think we're at V2 now. Gives you file system access. It mounts it as a drive or whatever on Windows Explorer. Yeah, I think we would see just an update to this.
Okay.
And maybe
that sounds like a pretty good idea.
It'll probably go behind the scenes and uninstall Zune for you.
Well, so here's my other question. Will Zune go for good? If the Zune Music Player is not there anymore, will they just rebrand it as the Windows Marketplace and have music in there? Will we start to see a Zune-like music player experience in Windows 8? I could see Zune dying completely.
I could too.
Well, that's been the long-term rumor that they're slowly, very, very slowly phasing it out. So, and if they do it slow enough, no one will notice, right? It'll slowly disappear. But clearly, they're going to have marketplace functionality built into Windows 8, so I'm okay with this. I'm actually looking forward to the much more native support with Windows Phone 8 and Windows 8 and how those two interact. Because in theory, they have so much potential, to exploit the similarities between the operating systems. So, Rafael, do you want to talk about? We already kind of went over about this idea about the Windows Phone 8 using the Windows 8 kernel. Maybe explain to our readers perhaps what that actually would mean.
So I don't know too much about it, but I'm guessing the Windows Phone 8 stuff would be running the same underlying NT kernel and some components that Windows 8 would have on the PC.
Hopefully what that means is that we'll see, as you've talked about, Dan, a certain level of app cross compatibility and perhaps improved performance because we don't know exactly what's changed in the kernel, but it will hopefully mean that we get improved performance, and perhaps it's part of what's going to drive the ability to have micro SD storage and removable storage. We just don't know at this stage.
Yeah, I have no idea what to tell you. Maybe we'll see things like multiprocessor. I know that's one of the big things coming, but I honestly can't tell you what else.
Wait, it's all conjecture at this point. But here's our big question: do we think Windows Phone 7 current devices are going to get the update? My bet's no.
Really? I'm
Really?
kind of leaning towards it because Nokia has been really, really big on pushing these low-end, low-cost devices.
Mm.
And, well, I mean, a Gen 1, Gen 1.5 phone is pretty much going to be a low-end, device, I think, in 2012, 2013. So I don't see why it wouldn't run it. Like, what's going to be the low-end phones for Nokia I don't know. I don't see why it wouldn't, I suppose.
Mm. I think Microsoft will get themselves in some serious hot water if they don't. But I could also understand, based on how much it's changing, they might have to sort of leave Windows Phone 7 in that iteration a little bit by the wayside.
I mean, I was gonna say it's a separate issue whether or not OEMs and carriers will roll it out.
Yeah,
but I don't see that there's going to be a fundamental hardware restriction that'll prevent it from running. But
yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they'll land in hot water. I mean, look at HTC. They rolled out a device, and 3 months later, they came out with a new one. So if people aren't outraged over that, hell, let's start changing the OS requirements. I don't know. No, I'm just being. I'm kidding though. Yeah, if I put money down on a new Nokia device, and then Windows Phone 8 comes out and it's not supported, that would tick me off a little bit. But that's how technology works, right?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely spot on. Right, okay. Have we got anything more to say about Windows Phone 8? Because it's all conjecture at this point. There's rumors, and if you want, you can go and read the article.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's people can look for right now what's going to happen at Mobile World Congress. A couple of weeks will be there. Nokia will have their announcement. Samsung will have some stuff there. We'll probably see something from LG, but focus will be on Tango. That'll be the big thing, and as the spring comes along, we'll keep hearing more and more about Apollo, and the picture will slowly come to focus, and I think we'll see more and more. I'm curious about what it's going to look like, actually. Everything, all those specs that are coming out, are kind of things I expect them to do, so I'm not really too surprised at it. I'm more curious how they're going to change things. Are we going to get folder support, and are they going to... I don't think they're going to radically change the UI at all, but I'm curious about how they're going to continue to develop the Metro UI, because it's not a stable UI, it's not a stable philosophy. It's something that's constantly developed, and those guys are constantly tweaking it, thinking of new things. That's where I'm kind of curious about how the design language evolves. So,
yeah,
that's a very good point.
And I'm definitely interested on the native stuff, obviously.
Yeah, I can see you getting a bit crazy with that. In a good way.
If they're gonna start allowing native access, I'm curious how much, what would it involve, etc. So.
Oh, one of the guys in the chat room, Bern Ethanol's got a point of how will notifications improve, if at all. We obviously don't have any information on that, but I think, would we like to see something in the region of a notification center or a tray?
I don't see why they wouldn't do something like that, but it depends on priorities and what they think people want. And if people, we have that user feedback system, and if people are putting notifications in there, it could take a priority, sure. But I would like to see that. I agree with people on that too. I think there should be like a center. I hate kind of missing notifications. I don't have a big problem missing it, but I think a way for third parties perhaps to access stuff on the start screen might help.
Yeah.
That's always
Agreed.
tricky.
Or just the ability to run some of their, or offload some of their logic to a native DLL that might perform faster. Like 3D graphics, sound processing. I think that's where we're going to see that stuff shine.
Agreed. All exciting stuff. Dan, you mentioned Mobile World Congress, or MWC, for those who can't bother to say it all the way through. We've had a couple of rumors this week, particularly regarding Nokia. And in fact, there's one, I think it was today, it was posted? Yesterday it was posted. And you posted it, in fact, Dan, so you can tell us all about it. Apparently they're going to be there with a brand new high-end Windows phone.
Or actually, that was my interpretation, right? So there's something there's something high end. So either it's going to be a mid-range phone with high-end features, and they're going to kind of surprise people, or it's going to be like a new kind of high-end phone with some new software announcement. Personally, I think this is going to be European 900, and I think they're going to officially announce City Lens, which is their augmented reality app. It's similar to what LG already has on their phones, where you hold up the device, use the camera, and you pan around, it shows you things around you. If you hold it flat down, it turns into a map. It's a cool thing. And with Nokia's mapping system, it should work exceptionally well. So I think that's kind of what they're going to be talking about. I don't think it's going to be groundbreaking. I think we'll see the white 800, maybe the white 900 there too. Yeah. But I'm not, I don't think they're going to blow doors off, but, I got the invite for the press release there too, and it's called like Adventures in Barcelona or something like that. So they're going to be there. They'll have something to show off.
Can I go to the Barcelona one?
Yes, right.
Awesome.
So this is going to be similar to the whole Samsung Focus and Samsung Omnia deal.
Right.
Similar devices, maybe a different chassis.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's curious, as you say. I mean, we've mentioned that the possibility of what we'll call like a 910, a slightly enhanced version for the European market, which doesn't seem all too likely because all they're going to do is chuck in a high resolution camera. I've got to admit, I don't see it really happening, but I've been proven wrong many times before. I don't know I can't picture what it would be at this stage because it just seems like Nokia need to focus a little bit on the Lumia line and making sure that these three phones that they've now announced are going to be everything that they promise at the cash point. When people are buying these phones, and that a couple of firmware updates come out, they need to work on fixing some areas in the Lumia that don't quite work and a couple of bugs.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an hour-long event, which, to put in perspective, the one at CES was 45 minutes. So they did one phone at 45 minutes, and this is an hour.
That's a good point.
So
probably be a lot of filler, right?
Yeah, they could. I mean,
maybe some dances.
They may talk about, this is Europe and rest of the world kind of stuff too. So don't be surprised if they mention more of their Asha series and their lower ends developing world type devices. They may show off a couple of those in passing. Sort of like what happened in Nokia World with that big announcement, right? So there may be a couple of those things there too. As far as the 910, I actually kind of think a 910 makes sense. I don't think they would call it necessarily a 900. I think that's an AT&T thing, right? So I think it's an AT&T 900, and so they'll just call it a 910, slightly change it, and there you go, European version. But I know Nokia supposedly denied this recently, but what else are they going to do?
They're not going to say yes to everything. Speaking of white, what are your opinions on these white phones? By the way, we'll talk about the white 800 first. Let's talk about the white 800, which was confirmed.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's great. I like the glossy look to it. I'm a big fan. I would love to get my hands on it. We talked about this before. I like white phones. I still using the 710 Lumia here, white. From the sea of black phones, it's nice to have white ones stick out once in a while. And Nokia has great color renditions on their devices. So sure, I'm a big fan of this.
Rafael, would you see yourself buying one?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't look like
persuaded
it.
White, it doesn't really matter. The black ones are nice enough for me.
You're still rocking a Focus, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I was so sure the white.
I still have a Gen 1 Focus.
Yeah, would you buy a white 900?
I suppose if I wanted to splurge, I could get a white 900, but I would probably go for a blue one instead.
Yeah, the blue one, the cyan, is pretty amazing looking.
Yeah, I mean that has the most impact, I think. But I actually have a question. So if the white phones, do they get messier quicker, or I've never had one.
I don't think so. I don't have a problem with it at all. Either the 710 or the Radar, I haven't had any problems with them getting messier. And I think especially with the 800 and presumably 900, since it's glossy, it'll even be less resistant to sort of fingerprints and that kind of thing. It should be a problem.
And they'll also have done the same thing, I think. Well, obviously, they'll have dyed the polycarbonate all the way through. Although, obviously, you won't get the glossy effect all the way through, I'd imagine. I would actually be quite curious. I think if I picked up if we get given a review unit, I think the first thing we should do is just walk outside and try and find some dog mess or something and just smear it. let's find out just how resilient it is.
You don't have to go outside for that.
Right. Yeah, thanks.
We need to establish this.
It'll be. I think it's a good choice. It's nice to have options. Everybody has different tastes. I will say one thing nice about having these white phones is they're a lot easier to find when you put them down on a table somewhere. So they really stick out. So
fair enough. But aren't they're more costly to manufacture though, right?
That I don't know. I don't think the 710 costs necessarily anymore. Because it's still just plastic. But
right.
yeah. Let's
So
talk
we should
about
point out quickly
Brandon
before
Watson.
because we skipped over it on the site a little bit, but the magenta Lumia is also making its way here to the UK.
Yeah, Jay, we skipped over it for a reason.
Awesome.
We have probably maybe 1 or 2 female listeners, so they might be interested.
You don't have to be female to appreciate pink. I
It helps. Let's talk about Brandon Watson leaving Microsoft. So he just up and quit. He's fed up. He said, no, he didn't say any of that, of course. So Brandon Watson, one of our favorite Microsoft people. He's become a lot of ways the face of Windows Phone because he really puts himself out there, and he's been, I think, really great at, gaining momentum on the platform. But he's leaving. Unfortunately, Amazon snapped him up. Gave him a deal he couldn't refuse. Can't blame the guy, really. I know it stinks, he's going out like that, I suppose. But hey, you got talent. Someone throws money at you in a position. A lot of times for these people, I think it's also about the position. They have more control. They get leadership positions, and they want that. And for a career move, you got to respect that decision. And Microsoft has unfortunately seemed like has a high churn rate lately with people leaving the company. But they seem to have a nice supply of talent there, so he feels confident that the people taking over will be, filling his shoes. I think Ben Lauer might be doing some of that. So,
and we should mention that he did always mention himself as an entrepreneur on loan to Microsoft.
Right. Yeah. So,
did you ever have dealings with him?
Who's that?
So, Rafael, you've talked to him a little bit, probably more than I have, I'd imagine. I'm guessing. I'm hoping.
Yeah. So before I get into that, though, it's interesting to hear Daniel picture this as if Amazon swooped in, gave him a great deal, and he left. Have you guys thought that maybe this was a result of perhaps the whole Windows and Windows Phone groups merging, clashing internally, with Windows 8 around the corner?
Yeah, some people brought that up in comments. A lot more dramatically, I suppose, but I didn't see any evidence for it. But yeah, who knows what's going on inside? If
it'd be interesting to ask around to see if that position even exists anymore.
What, director of developer experience?
Right. If that position doesn't exist, that could lead, that could lend some credibility into the fact that maybe Sanofsky's taking over. I don't know.
If it's around Microsoft and you want a British guy to run it, just give me a shout.
Dropping some hints here.
but to answer your question, yeah, we met up. I think we first met up last year in January. That was when the Chevron stuff started going down. And yeah, he totally energetic, hyped up. He was obviously driving that team over there, and it was great to work with. So, and I think I tweeted out earlier that he's responsible for getting Homebrew where it is today. So kudos to him.
That's a very good point. I'm actually quite curious. You're talking about whether or not the position's still there. He was hiring via Twitter almost only 2-3 months ago. So
that's right. Yeah.
So I'd find trying to get extra people onto his team. I can't quite believe that team would have been or is going to be dissolved. But as you say, perhaps there's a chance that it's going to be merged into a director of developer experience for Windows. Full stop.
Yeah, I mean, once Windows 8 comes out and Windows Phone starts running Windows 8, there's not much of a phone group, is there? I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Well, Microsoft does have a predilection for merging groups and shifting teams, and which I think upsets some of those people on those teams, understandably. So there's perhaps something that maybe someday will come out, and Brandon will tell us, but probably won't. We'll just have to continue to rely on backdoor conversations, which I'll try to have in Barcelona if anyone at Microsoft wants to have some.
Some factual conversations.
Right.
That's new journalistic standards.
UK Windows Phone User Group. Oh, AirPick Voice. Explain AirPick Voice.
Okay, I'm going to pick this one up. So obviously, I was at Windows Phone User Group last week. For those of you who live in England or anywhere nearby, France, even there's people from all over Europe actually were there. It's a great little experience, and everyone sort of gets together. It's really designed towards people who might want to be a bit entrepreneurial with Windows Phone User Group, with the Windows Phone development. They kind of want to find out how the best to make money, how best to market the apps, how best to basically start developing even. And yeah, so the Windows Phone user group, that's what it's all about. Microsoft were there as well. They actually had a little thing going, which meant the developers in the room who were working on a brand new app could effectively get themselves a nice free device. So it is worth going along. And that was a Lumia 800 for the record. Not available to anybody, so don't ask me how it works. But yeah, so we got to see a couple of interesting things. I got to meet and chat to a couple of people, got recognized for my voice, which was a little bit terrifying. And then had a nice chat with Keyboard P, as he's known on Twitter, who is effectively the developer of AirPic Voice. If you haven't been following AirPic Voice, you might know it as PhoneZoom. And you should be excited about this app, this experience, because he's basically, Keyboard P seems to be a bit of a nutter in that he just wants to throw as much functionality as possible into one application. And there's some very cool stuff that he's doing. He is actually in our chat room as well at the moment. So please feel free to say hi to him and follow him on Twitter. But what he's doing is
You nutter.
The nutter. Exactly.
Nutter.
The nutter. All right, I've got a British accent. We'll move on. So the core of the app, the one that he originally showed off, was using voice dictation to select certain songs. He showed us a little bit of stuff that he'd done in expanding that, so you could put in how songs should be pronounced. Things like he pointed out "Thanks for the Memories" by Fall Out Boy is spelt "Thanks for if you tried to pronounce that in actual English, it wouldn't make sense. But one of the things that he's throwing in all these different features, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because, well, you can go to the website and read it, or you can have a chat to him. But one of the things that actually got me really excited was how he'd done this ringtones feature. So you'll install this bit of software that's already goes onto your desktop phone. Oh, sorry, onto your desktop, not desktop phone. And it'll sit there and go through your music. You can hook it up to VLC or to Zune itself. And you can then basically play music or control that from your phone. You can play it through your phone, but what you're doing is playing it over the local network. And you can say, oh, this bit of the song actually is quite cool. I want to turn this into a ringtone. And he showed us a little demo right there on the phone. Effectively, what he did was take this chunk of the song that was ripped straight from his computer and transferred it into a ringtone, and straight away it was on his phone. That is a sweet way of doing it. It was really quick. It was really simple. And the idea that I can just browse to my collection of music on my computer, pick a song, turn it into a ringtone and crop the file. It's just a great bit of functionality. And he didn't show off the UI that he was going to be using. It was all a sort of a basic framework UI, but I get the feeling that he's not going to mess that one up either at all. I think my understanding is that he'll be charging a small amount for the app. It'll be he hasn't given me a price figure, or he may have and I've forgotten. But ultimately, it will be a free bit of software for your computer, and then a paid app on the phone. And I have a feeling that it's going to be a really good app, and I'm quite excited by what he's going to do. And he'll correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think we're expecting it actually probably within a month. So hopefully it'll be around pretty soon. That's AirPic Voice. And I need a drink because that's too much talking.
Okay. Well, sounds exciting. At least it's always nice to have some innovative, creative software coming to our OS. So, any ETA on that?
Yeah. So as I say, hopefully within a month. He's actually just confirmed about that time in our chat room, and he is live in our chat room. So guys, go and say hi. Very nice fella as well. Had a little chat with him afterwards. He even put up with Jay after a couple of beers. So thanks very much.
Which is like every night.
It's not every night. It's some
He's wasted now.
Yeah.
Hey, I've only had one beer today.
Oh, okay.
And that was with lunch. It was a friend's birthday. What can you say?
Always a celebration.
There is always a celebration. Right. Let's move on to software news, shall we?
Sure.
App picks this week. Let's
picks.
find out if either of you've got them.
You go first. I haven't thought of mine yet.
Okay, I'll go first. I'm going to feature an old one because we didn't actually do anything about it on the site when it happened, and it's just awesome. So I'm going to go back to TV show. Everyone knows Rudy Hoon as the developer, and it recently got a Mango update. So if you uninstalled TV show for any reason some time ago and you thought, oh, actually I haven't reinstalled it on a new device, or you haven't installed it since you've had Mango, now is the time to go and check it out. It's for those who don't know a bit about TV Show, it's one of the prettier apps that's been released onto Windows Phone. Rudy did a fantastic job straight away of developing a really Metro experience. It was one of the first apps actually that I think I've genuinely thought, oh, I'm going to take some inspiration from that in terms of how we're going to design the UI of Windows Phone Central's app. It's really fast now. The live tile functionality in there is amazing. It tells you how many days till the next episode of a TV show that you're tracking. Everything's very fluid, and it's absolutely worth downloading for free. So there's a free version or a paid version. Frankly, I'd rather pay him because he's done a fantastic job. That is my pick for the week. As we find out, none of you guys have one.
Well, I always have like 6,000 apps. I've been recording a couple this week. Let's see, calendar search is pretty cool. That's by Liquid Daffodil, the guy behind WP7. So this is another app that fills in sort of a hole for some in the operating system. You don't have the ability to search your calendar events. And for some of us, if we want to go back to see when a date was for a specific thing, you can just type it in and it'll search your calendar. And you can set your time frame. You can look into the future, the past, current, that kind of thing. It's a great piece of software, 99 cents. I imagine Microsoft will fill this in themselves eventually. But until then, if you need this functionality, it's nice. He's also done the Add to Contacts app, which allows you to search in Bing and then save a contact right to your People Hub, which is pretty cool too. Another one, Amazing Weather. I got to do a video on this. I'll probably do one maybe for tomorrow. It's 2.0. And Amazing Weather, obviously it's been out for a little while now since it just went to the second level, but it's actually really good now. The only reason I haven't talked about it before was because it was still rough around the edges, but 2.0 actually gets really nice and it has some great animation, and I think it's a nice alternative. I know there's weather apps like Twitter apps, there's 6,000 of them, everybody has their preference, so but this is nice. Graphically it's nice, got a great live tile, so I think people should check that one out. And then other than that, I've just been playing a lot of games, actually. These Xbox must-have games, which we'll talk about in a few moments, have been really impressive.
Yeah.
So,
Rafael, have you got any apps you want to feature this week?
So I'm actually going to cheat. I'm going to, instead of picking an app for the week, I'm going to pick a ROM for the week. So I don't think we actually wrote about this, and I apologize, but there's a new DFT ROM for the old first-gen Samsung phones.
Oh,
so,
right. Yeah, I was going to do a post on this, but I was going to do like an actual hands-on video with it. But so you've been actually running this?
I haven't run it yet, and I bring it up because, as far as I know, there are no original ROMs out there for the device. So once you go forward, you can't go back.
There may be, yeah, I think there's actually a retail like ROM
really
out there. Yeah.
Okay, I got to keep looking then because I couldn't find one. And then another reason I bring it up is that apparently these ROMs are created by folks that are sponsored by some company that does like a browser, and this thing is cooked into the ROM and has potentially some privacy implications. So obviously I'm going to be digging into that, but just wanted to send that a little warning there. If you flash your phone, you need to be aware of all these things. And then there's some USB issues as well, but I mean,
yeah, definitely do something on that. Yeah, that's
there are USB
problem,
issues with a normal ROM. So,
Rafael, man, I swear, in my head, you're the Sherlock Holmes of Windows Phone. You're just always investigating these cool things that I never even think of. I'm going to buy you a magnifying glass.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's sort of like the Android ROMs too. Like you don't know necessarily what you're getting, and so when these people get these deep level access, I believe a lot of times the people in the community have good intentions, but sometimes things get in there. I know like access to the Bazaar marketplace. Bazaar I think is good, but there's the other third party one sometimes might have pirated software. So these are things to be aware of. So yeah, if we can dig into that and make sure it's okay, that'd be nice. Yeah, we need a verification for these things.
Yeah. So we'll put it on WPCentral when we get through with it.
Cool.
Awesome. Nice one.
So
nice one.
Speaking of games, let's talk about these must-have games. This is I like when Microsoft does this. It kind of
promotions.
Yeah, we're used to getting the Xbox Live games every week, but it's nice to have when they have those like 6 weeks of like really awesome games that come out to help breathe a little bit more life. And I have to admit, a lot of these must-have games are actually really good. And what's nice about it is it spans genres, right? So last week we had Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, which is your typical racing cop game, that kind of thing. But graphically, it's really nice. Some pretty long load times, but And some people are pretty unhappy with the fact it doesn't support Mango and the screen times out if you don't tap it every once in a while. But overall, I like the game. It actually makes me really agitated when I'm playing. It does. I'm like, come on. But it's a great game. And then this week was Bullet Asylum, which I'm a huge fan of, except for my thumbs. My thumbs and fingers aren't big fans. Like I keep expecting every time as I'm like doing it, like I always start to smear blood across the screen from wearing my fingers out. It's a great game.
So I've got completely differing opinions on Need for Speed Hot Pursuit because it was all right when you play as a cop, and when you played as the racer person, it just got a bit boring and ridiculous.
Yeah. Absolutely. With all those games, playing the cop is the best.
Yeah, that's what I do. Right, correct.
But have you played it, Rafael? Have you given it?
I haven't played it on the phone. I've played it on the PC though, and I don't know. I'm not a big fan of racing games in general. So
yeah.
So I like racing games, but this isn't. I don't know. To be honest, the Red Bull racer simulation thing is even slightly better. It's like a Formula One Red Bull simulation that you can get out there.
It just worries me though, because with these 3D games, especially like Bullet Asylum, they should have some UI that just shows the battery draining in real time. Because
well, Bullet Asylum's a sort of a 2D retro style thing rather than 3D.
But the amount of pixels on the screen is crazy.
It's cool. But have you played Bullet Asylum?
I played it a little bit, and I do like it. I like all the games that kind of tune themselves to music. I'm a big fan of that, so I'm a big fan of like Bit Trip and some of the other games on PC. But
Audio
it's pretty good.
Well, this time was nice. And next week we have Chickens Can't Fly, which I'll have a preview up. If you want to tune in Monday morning, I think I'll have a video up.
Chickens Can't Fly.
This is this is a very casual. This is like a casual gamer type. For people like Angry Birds, Fragger, these kind of things, you'll love Chickens Can't Fly. Now, this was kind of like Bullet Asylum, but a little different, because the game was originally out on Windows Phone as an independent game, and Microsoft came in and gave him the Xbox Live pat on the back.
Wow.
Which is it's pretty impressive. So this is an indie developer who stepped up, and I have to admit, we champion a lot of times the indie developers on our site, and we do it kind of for a reason. And they did a good job with this game. Multiple pinnable tiles to your start screen, and some just really cool features. And I like the graphics of it, so I think it's going to be a big hit. It's one of my favorite games.
Yeah, it looks like Meat Boy graphics.
Yeah, it's very. I'm a big fan of the graphics that look like cartoons, and you can't almost tell if it's animated or if you're playing the game. And so it's a simple concept. Instead of a jumper game, you're falling down like a big tunnel basically, and you can tap the screen and slow your chicken down. They can't fly, but they can slow down, and you have to dodge obstacles, pick up obstacles, and do all. And they keep giving you new challenges. And it sounds at first like it's going to be sort of like a silly thing, and in theory you should get bored with this, but they do some really innovative ways to keep you interested. So I'm kind of a big fan. But we'll cover that next week, and then we
if you want boring, play Line Birds.
Line Birds is all right, but it does get boring.
Line Birds, I actually like Line Birds.
Oh boy.
Well, I see what you're saying. No, I mean, I like it in the sense of graphics. I think we're really good on it. I just like the smooth animations and stuff. But I know what you're saying, where all those line jumper games or dodging games get old quickly, unless you're really good. But yeah, that's just that genre. This game, it's not one of those endless. You just run and keep jumping over things. Like there are levels, you complete them, so it's a lot more satisfying because you actually go through stages. So, but we also have Splinter Cell Conviction coming, and then
I'm a huge fan of all the Splinter Cells, so I will be getting this.
They did a nice job with this game too. Pretty intensive graphics, and it's definitely. This will definitely appeal to those type of gamers. Like I said, what's nice about all these games coming out, they're going to appeal to a lot of different groups. And so this is really for I think the hardcore gamer, the one who likes playing long stories, getting really involved into it, not the quick pick 'em up, like a Chickens Can't Fly game. So
I'm looking forward to seeing if the Splinter Cell game turns out to be, because I'm almost expecting it's going to be quite good because it's been teased for so long and seems to be in development for quite some time. I'm kind of expecting some as a real A+ title there, which is making me nervous because I've yet to find a mobile game where I've thought, "Whoa, A+ title." I've just thought, "Oh, that's cool. That's really good fun." So we'll see. We'll see what that comes out with. Speaking of games, actually, we're going to quickly move on. Portals 2D, which just is a bit of almost a bit of an IP ripoff, but we'll put that one to the side for now. Was free. It was free until
copyright police.
Jeez, Rafael.
But it was free until yesterday. Have either of you got? I mean, who's played it? That's what I want to find out. Who's played Portals 2D?
I've downloaded. I have not played it. I keep forgetting to play. I have too many games to play. But I like the concept. So it's Portals basically, but it's a top-down view. It's like if you took the Portal game and decided to make it an old school like arcade kind of game. And so
yeah.
I kind of like this. I like this idea. I think other company. I don't know. I would have liked. Who was it? The company that makes Portal. They should have just done this themselves. But
Valve.
Yeah, Valve. So they should have just But no, I think it's a cool thing and it was given away for free. So why not? The only complaint I've heard about it is there's not enough levels, and that's something that can be easily addressed. Yeah. So it's gotten really high reviews, and these kind of puzzle challenging games are always kind of fun. I'm a big fan of these. The mirror laser ones where you got to sort of complete patterns, I think are kind of fun too. So I even like Fragger. I'm a big fan of Fragger. Even though it's like a stupid game, I like just throwing grenades and blowing stuff up in creative ways. Kind of say.
For some reason, I can really believe that you enjoy blowing things up.
I do.
I can't tell you why.
This is why. I mean, everybody's like, Fragger's just like, what was it, like Angry Birds? I'm like, yes, but it has grenades. It's better.
Nice.
I mean, I'm blowing up people. I don't know. It's a lot cooler than destroying a pig's little fort, whatever.
We need an old school Scorched Earth.
Yes, that'd be good. Well, you mean is that the tank kind of games?
No. Yeah. Where you aim and you apply power and.
But there is one. But there's a great
Really?
one actually on Windows Phone. And I forgot the name of it. It's called Scorch something, I believe. Maybe it's on the chat room because we covered it a long time ago. It even has multiplayer.
That was a while back.
Yeah, it has
Whoa, okay,
multiplayer.
we definitely have to get this now. Let's see.
Yeah. It's actually it's a really nice game. Yeah, you can play others. You can pick them and like do turn by turn stuff. It was one of the first turn by turn games actually on Windows Phone. So it's called Scorch.
What was
something.
it called? That's gonna bug me.
I'm looking now. There's 5 of them. One is called Broiled Earth, which is kind of hilarious.
I think it's called Broiled Earth. I think that's what it is. Yeah, it might be.
Wow.
It's on our site. So.
Oh
Yeah.
Damn.
Give it a download.
I guess I should be reading our own site, huh?
It was some time ago, before you arrived.
I think it's Broiled Scorch. I don't know, something like that. But that's a fun game. That's definitely really good. So what else do? Calendar Search. We already talked about it. So there you go. Cool app. I'm sure there was some other apps that we forgot to cover this week. But we'll get to them.
There wasn't an awful lot after when I was browsing through writing the script. I thought, okay, this might be quite a light one, which is good.
ESP ratings make their way into the marketplace, so this is for parents and stuff, kind of an interesting thing. But yes, we're starting to see, especially the Xbox Live games, we're seeing some independent games get this rating system. Now, what makes ESRB interesting was that they recently rolled out their mobile initiative, and Apple and Android, or the Android system, both rejected it, so they're both not using it. Instead, opting for their own system of self-regulation. And Microsoft's one of the few ones that actually are using it. I don't have strong feelings either way on this. I kind of find these ratings a little bit silly, but I suppose if I had children, I'd probably think differently. I don't know. What do you guys think?
You wouldn't be
I think what's interesting here is that maybe with the rollout of this feature, we'll start to see more mature games and maybe parental controls on the phone.
That's what I'm hoping for. It's like
I want to see blood and
that.
guts and explosions on the screen. So
yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. I'm not
Rafael, just
confident.
have interest. Are you as freaked out that I am the fact that Daniel so far has talked about blowing things up with grenades and trying to get parentally restricted content on his phone? Are you all right, Dan? Is everything okay?
I like violence. It's okay. It's cathartic,
yeah, I want to see like a Kill Bill game on the phone.
Yes, totally. No, like I'm weird. I'm all about the extremes in life. I'll watch the most like artistic, snotty movie, And then like I'll watch the preview for Battleship and I'm like, I'll see that. So I'll just
Nice.
yeah, everything is up for me. So when it comes to games, one of my favorite games on the Xbox 360 was Bulletstorm. I
Yeah.
love this concept of just like slowly murdering people. I don't know what can I say, but I also like Portal. So, anyways,
See,
so ESPN.
you're terrifying me because I just get the feeling that at some point I'm going to read an American news site and your name's going to be on one of those articles that ends with before turning the gun on himself.
That's
I'm a little
terrible.
bit concerned.
Yeah, well, it is New
So,
York.
moving on from Daniel's murderous tendencies to hardware news.
The LG Miracle. Should I get excited about this? Probably not. I've been
I'll
kind
do
of
it for
hard
you.
on LG lately.
Yay! There you go.
LG is,
They've
I
come
like
out
the
with one
Quantum.
other phone, right?
Yeah, there's like one other one. They seem to really be going for the mid-range, low-end kind of thing, which is probably what they should be doing. I would like to see them go high-end. Don't get me wrong. The Quantum, anybody who's on AT&T knows the Quantum, and if you like keyboards, that was your only choice. It's not a bad phone, actually. It's small screen, but tight pixel resolution on it, so it looks nice. The keyboard itself was pretty decent. Could have been better, but got the job done. So LG, I'd like to see them do a little bit more. I can't say I'm excited about this device, but hey, it's something. It supposedly has CDMA bands, which means Sprint may get it. I'm not sure it's going to help Sprint's cause. Sprint's complaining that they're not getting enough phone choice and good options. I don't think the Miracle, if they went with this,
It's because they're cheap.
Yeah, I'm not really convinced this is like going to be the one that's going to. I don't know. Sometimes I question if they're really going to do this. If this is like, are they looking at this phone like, oh, this will bring in the customers? Get the Titan, get the Titan 2, get a Nokia phone. And I heard, and I'll repeat this. I don't think, last I heard, Sprint and Nokia aren't even in talks, so don't expect anything from them. So.
I think, do you know what? I'd love to. I can almost picture. Probably won't ever happen, but I can somehow picture a Nokia Lumia 900 eventually being released on Verizon and being this big red phone.
Oh, totally.
That'll happen.
Yeah.
At some point.
Oh, I can totally see that. I could see Verizon definitely doing this. Sure, absolutely. In fact, someone in our forums works for Verizon said that their upcoming LTE promos has a Windows Phone in it. So dun dun dun. There you go. Is your little scoop for today. I have no evidence of that. They could be totally lying. There were no other details, and he won't give any because of his job, and so that's like a little rumor thing. But who's going to be shocked by that?
That's a podcast exclusive for you right there.
Yeah, right. If Verizon came out tomorrow and said we're going to do an LTE Windows Phone, I mean, who's going to be really like shocked that they did that? Right? It's expected.
Do you know what? Honestly, I will at this point. They've just put it off too long.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it's also just. They're just playing around with people. I hate to say it, but I think they're kind of just trolling a little bit. Sprint giving
calling Verizon a troll.
Yes.
You will not get Windows phones. You will have Android phones and like it.
Sprint's giving the Arrive a little love, maybe. I'd like to think that this is going to be that's what they were doing here. So this story originated from Sprint's own help forums back in I think it was. End of November. One of the Sprint reps was in the forum. He's also like a moderator there, saying that the Rye doesn't support phone as modem, aka tethering, and therefore don't expect it. And everybody was like, "What are you talking about? Of course it supports it." And then finally, like 2 days ago, he went back and crossed that out, which was fine. And then he put a new post saying to pay attention to the forums for any updates for the OS. Now. That could have just been corporate talk for, here, shut up, we'll think about doing something. Or it could be a sign that something's coming down the line. There's been some rumors and rumblings of a maintenance update coming from Sprint. So
he just puts the guy just puts the Sprint weren't offered the phone as a modem or option or tethering for this device. That's really clear. The same goes for Android phones with built-in tethering functionality. It is not supported by Sprint, although it's a feature of the phone. So I think we can pretty much lay the rest to bed that they won't get internet connection sharing. If you're on Sprint, you're not going to get it. They've said it pretty much outright there. What you might get is an update, possibly in the future, maybe someday.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, this is why I put in the post at 50-50. It can go either way. I could see Sprint doing this. I can also see Sprint not doing this. So I really hope so. Our people who use the Arrive love the Arrive. I have one. It's a great phone. It's the only one on Sprint, so let's hope it gets a little love. Hopefully, we'll see something from. There's rumors that Sprint will be getting a couple new phones. LG, HTC, Samsung have all been thrown around. All distinct possibilities. Sure, why not? Maybe we'll see something at Mobile World Congress. Maybe something later in the spring. So we'll see. Talking points. Rafael goes all badass on scammers. This was a fun Monday we had here with piracy and that kind of thing. Rafael.
So, Mr. Rivera, tell us all about this, about your I'm going to call it your anti-piracy crusade.
Yeah. So, this started out with, I think, one of the emulator developers. I think his name was Nunda. I apologize if I pronounce it wrong. But, he came to me one day. He's like, look, they rejected my emulator stuff, but then this guy is selling an emulator with ROMs bundled together, and he's actually charging for them. So that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It's like, look, this guy's cheating everybody. People are downloading these games thinking they're the classics, and not only do they work poorly, they don't come with sound, and he's not updating them. So that was kind of he went over the line there. So I think people that follow me on Twitter know that I hate cheaters. So I don't like when people do cheat like that. So I took it upon myself to kind of take this guy down, and I nearly gave up because the Windows Phone guys, they've taken the stance that if the copyright owners don't come forward and complain, our hands are tied. We can't really enforce any of that stuff. And initially I was like, that's ridiculous. But then when you actually sit down and think about it from a legal perspective, it's like, look, they can't be enforcing copyrights they don't own. So that's why you see all these other apps on the marketplace, like ESPN knockoffs and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So, I nearly gave up.
And yet, interestingly, they enforce logo copyrights.
Do they? Sometimes.
That's actually harking back to last week's conversation, but I won't go there for too long.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I know if it's their trademark, they will enforce it pretty quickly. But
no, you can't use the Windows logo.
Yeah. So anyway, I nearly gave up, but then I realized, hey, look, this emulator is actually labeled. If you open the Zap, it has the guy's name on it, Phoenix, and so it's using a derivative of Sharp NES, which is an open source emulator out there. The guy's using a derivative of that was owned by Phoenix. I'm like, hey, there's an idea. Let me get a hold of this guy and get him to enforce his own copyright on that software. Because if you people's derivative changes are automatically copyrighted. You don't have to go through copyright.gov and all that stuff. So I got a hold of him. I'm like, hey, you should do this, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, He started to, flake out a little bit there. I was like, look, just give me the copyright. I will do it. I want to shut this guy down. So he's like, sure. And we wrote up some documentation, legal documentation, had him assign me the full copyright of his changes. And I then went through the long and arduous Microsoft process of getting that stuff pulled. And we have a post on the site, but Microsoft sent some forms back. I had to fill out more and more and more paperwork, which was ridiculous. But we got it. All of Jesse Dudley's apps have been removed that are infringing.
Yeah.
I think he has some other.
You went to the lengths as to get yourself your own copyright just for this NES emulator.
Yes. And right now, I still hold the copyright to that emulator, but I'll probably transfer it back any day now because I don't need it. I'm not trying to start a business with his code, but I think what he has left now are just some sample games that he recompiled and posted. I'm not too worried about those. I mean, whatever. But
you've got to draw a line at some point.
Yeah. So I think what's alarming here, though, is that despite all the infringements, I think it was at least 14. His account is still active, and there's no indication that the people who bought those games have gotten their money back, and that's at least $500 to $1,000 in that guy's pocket for ripping people off. That's totally unfair. So I don't know. I'm still trying to follow up. I doubt Microsoft will tell me what happened. That's kind of internal. So we'll see.
I don't know if they'll ever get any refunds. I mean, refunds in the marketplace I've only experienced once, so I can't say are too likely.
And now I wanted to clarify though. I noticed in the comments everyone's up in arms like, oh, there's other emulators out there. The act of emulation is not illegal. Now you could make the case that emulators have no legitimate use case. They're purely designed for emulating retail ROMs, but there are homebrew ROMs out there. So in theory, you could run a homebrew ROM legally. Fine. In that case, emulators totally legal. And I think there are. I think Daniel wrote up the Sega emulator on the marketplace, and there's also an NES one up there. They don't come bundled with any ROM, so it's completely legal. What I had a problem with was him bundling NES ROMs. Those are completely illegal. It's illegal to make, and it's illegal to execute and sell, of course, on the marketplace. So just wanted to...
Yeah. No, I think we're all on the same page there. That's what was really kind of offensive, was he was taking two people's property and then putting it together and then selling it. And it was just like, and selling it not for, I mean, like 99 cents, but actually for a couple dollars. And then not giving any support because he didn't actually do any of it. So it was both ripping two people off and misleading. It was totally deceptive the way he did it. At least with Sonic Jewels 7, the way I'm one of the reasons I've been a big champion of it. For one, even if you go to sites and get the ROMs, these sites don't charge you the ROMs. They're free downloads and stuff. Now, we can have a legitimate discussion about, does that hurt developers? And my view on piracy is this: it's a market issue. It's a market problem, meaning that there's a demand for something, and there's someone not meeting that demand, and then someone else comes in and is meeting it. And so I think the consensus is, if Sega came along and said, here's an emulator, an official emulator, here's a store, you can buy the ROMs for 99 cents a pop, and everything's legit, it would work and it would sell. Now, I know there are, I think, obstacles for this, because if you are a copyright holder going back 15 years, and now you have to renegotiate for ROMs and mobile devices. So I think there are some of these hiccups. But I mean, that's why this stuff exists in the first place. So Sonic Jewels 7, for me, it's a brilliant app. It's well designed. The guy put a lot of effort into it. Some of the stuff in there is built off of other people's work, which he credits. And so I'm totally fine with this, and I'm a libertarian when it comes to it. I think people can make their own decisions about what's legal, what's right, and this kind of thing. And so I find it completely different from what Jesse does. Obviously, the two are related, and that's why we ran the stories the same day. I think people were like, it was a conscious decision to run both those stories together, because I like part of it was to sort of troll our audience, but it's also because I mean, life is difficult, right? A lot of these issues, there's legal issues and there's moral issues, and it's black and white for some, and it's gray for others. And I think it's an important discussion to have. I don't think there's a right answer, but it's a discussion that people should have in the community. So I was more than glad to provide that, and Rafael's piece was, I think, a good starting point. So.
So yeah, and by the way, I don't plan on stopping. Now I'm not really, I'm not like actively out there trying to banhammer people. But I think my next fight is going to be with these crappy applications that do absolutely nothing on the marketplace. For example, that IM VIP crap.
Right.
It's in clear violation of the application policies that say, your app must have some sort of what is it? I forgot the terminology, but they said your app must do something.
Like basically do something.
Yeah, and it clearly doesn't. And then we got some other people, especially ex-Microsoft folks, that are putting out 50,000 applications that show the shortcuts in various products. Like I wrote this on Twitter. There's one. He has an application that shows you shortcuts in Outlook, Windows, Excel, Word. They're all crap. They just import some shortcut list, and he has like thousands of ads in them. It's like, what the hell? What the hell is this? We don't want this. So yeah, I'm kind of acting as the crapware police.
I think we need that, so I'm totally okay, and I know our audience appreciates it.
We don't want to turn into Android here, so
from homebrew to crapware police.
Android, it really is bad, though. I mean, I know everybody's like, oh, there's so many apps. Yeah, like, the girlfriend, I bought her a tablet for Christmas, and she wanted to use go get a Reddit app, and there was like 30 Reddit apps. It's like, well, which
Yeah.
one do you use? And she tells me
Yeah.
like 98% are crap. It's
And
true.
29 of
So,
them root your phone and delete your data.
yeah, right. So there is this issue, and it's one thing we try to at least. That's why we don't. Whenever we cover software on our site, if you guys notice this, we always actually run the software. We don't just put up. We don't take the developer's word and let them just post on our site and be like, "Hey, our app isn't made." Sure, it is. Of course, you're going to think that. We actually run any app that we're going to talk about. We actually ran ourselves and said, "Yeah, this actually is a pretty decent app. Here's why you might be interested in it." We try to do a low quality control.
In other words, Dan's personal info has been stolen about 4 or 5 times so far.
Yeah, right. That's why my purchase history is pretty ridiculous. But that's why I always put the picture up with me with the phone. It's sort of proof we're actually running this. So
And then of course, Jay and I take it a step further and we disassemble the zaps.
Yeah, right. Yeah, see what's.
I try and avoid disassembling zaps wherever possible because I feel like I'm hurting the developer. I feel like I'm dissecting something which they want all packaged up.
Yeah. Give them a roofie and you're having your way with them.
Yeah, it's just morally wrong. It's like I don't want to be poking around inside your zap.
I have no problem with it.
So we're talking of Android. Let's sort of segue on into our next piece. This director of user experience at Microsoft interview that went on with Gizmondo. It was Sam Moreau. Am I saying that right? I think so. There's not an awful lot to the story. It's just an interesting talking point because one of the things that he talks about is the strong sense of vision, which I think no one who listens to this podcast would disagree with. We're now starting to see from Microsoft. And he talks about the whole Android situation of Android doesn't have a strong sense of vision, or maybe it's starting to get one together now. And the Android marketplace, for example, just got completely refreshed on my tablet. And all of a sudden I'm swiping left and right between things thinking this actually whole layout looks very familiar to most of my Windows Phone use. So maybe Microsoft's strong sense of vision is now bleeding into other products that it doesn't own, if that makes sense. Nice way of saying it was copied. What are your guys' points on this? Do you think Microsoft's going to continue with this strong sense of vision? Is there anything we can glean from this interview, or is it just a nice little piece?
I thought it was just interesting just to see sort of the methodology and what they were thinking. But and there's this acknowledgement now from Microsoft that they were lacking this vision, and they know in consumer electronics and that whole area that they don't have a very good reputation, and it's obvious what works for Apple. Apple has a vision, they have a design philosophy, they can execute products. When something new comes out, it's like it'll be out in 8 weeks. There you go. It'll be available everywhere. So Apple is very good at that, and I think Microsoft's finally taking a page. And it's sort of nice to see this. We're a little privy to this. Some of us were using Zoom back 3 years ago, and so we saw the design language back then, and we saw how similar it looked to the Media Center. And so you could see the lineage of how that was happening. And to this day, now we're all running Windows Phone. We know about Metro. We know about Windows 8. We know about Xbox. But most consumers still aren't aware of this. So we're still kind of like ahead of the game. And so I'm real fascinated by the fact that, late 2012, all this will just come online and consumers are going to be like, hey, all these things match up. And we're starting to see it sort of pick up in the rest of the media. JCPenney's, it's a mid-range clothing store here in the U.S. has gone very Metro with their design philosophy recently. So you're starting to see it carry over. And it's nice to have this because it really does, I think, have a unifying effect to the operating system, where Android clearly lacks this. Duarte is trying to fix it a little bit, but really hasn't. WebOS had it, I would say, to a certain extent. But WebOS, unfortunately, we all know that history. RIM and BlackBerry don't have it. They're very pragmatic and text-driven. Now, BlackBerry 10 is going to be a different story, but we still don't know much about that. So, I don't know. It was just kind of interesting to see how those teams interacted with each other, too, how they kind of got together, because it was the interesting point about, all right, so you guys interact with the Windows Phone team. How do you take what they're using and translate it to the desktop and vice versa? So they all have to be on the same page. It can't be 100% parity between the two because it's different interfaces. But it's interesting to see how these teams, I think, work together. So
interesting. Rafael, anything to put into this one, or are you going to? If you didn't say.
Daniel actually he hit it out of the park there. I mean,
Agreed.
I have no other input.
Yeah, agreed. Let's move on because I feel like I can't match up to that.
I know.
So let's talk
thanks,
YouTube
guys.
quickly.
Oh yeah, this is kind of a weird story, right? So some people are like, oh, I've had this for a week or two and stuff. But yeah, so YouTube apparently did some back changes on the HTML5, the interface for their YouTube stuff. So because the app we all know really isn't an app, it just accesses their site. But it is certainly a lot more functional now, and the quality of the streams seem to be higher. Now, I still don't think it matches up to something like SuperTube or YouTube Pro, or even the MetroTube app that was out there. But I actually don't watch a lot of YouTube on my phone, probably because I'm near a computer a lot of times. I'd rather just watch it there. And so I'm okay with just using the built-in YouTube app when I just need to quickly watch a video. But I know others need something more powerful. But it's nice to see YouTube giving us a little bit of a bone, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah. And it's actually, from a developer's perspective, I've been looking into it, and I'm going to probably pick up Wireshark or something and try and figure out how it's setting that high quality setting so we can try and put it into the app. Otherwise,
he doesn't like disassembling Zaps, but he'll pick up Wireshark.
Hell yeah! Well, I've done a lot of stuff in network, but the Wireshark, that's different. That's just communications that's going on. It's the same reason that I read HTTP headers when I'm really, really bored to see if anyone's put anything exciting in there. My life. I have to question my life now, don't I?
I'm not bored. I'm gonna go read. I'll read Reddit. You'll read HTTP headers. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Anyway, so so the moment the way that we do it in the app is we just run off to the sort of VND link that gets generated by YouTube when you're browsing in that app. But what I'm hoping is that there's a little clever way I can do a run off to a VND link somewhere else that will set this as high quality, so we can put high quality videos even over 3G. Otherwise, what we'll probably do is, I think if I can't figure it out, I'll put an option in there which will let you just go to the HTML5 site like this, like we show in this the screenshot in this article, and just give people the option to click high quality first. I think that probably works. Yeah, so fingers crossed we'll get some improve. With this sort of improved YouTube experience, will start trickling down to the apps as well.
Yeah, I never have any success with YouTube on within all the apps, web. I always get stuck buffering, and it's like, look, I give up. I'll just go to the PC. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a good thing.
Ours works.
I mean, I've actually been in touch with YouTube on licensing. Back when, what was it? Somebody closed shop. Lazy Worm closed their. Yeah. What was that app called? YouTube. MetroTube. Yeah. So when they closed that, I'm like, okay, so what's going on there? And I started contacting YouTube. I'm like, hey, does this have something to do with the high quality video licensing or something? And they basically said, look, we're not going to license anybody raw access unless you are very, very big and rich. They said something very similar to that. I don't have it in front of me, but
yeah.
So I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what the whole deal is with the Lazy Worm MetroTube.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a weird story. All I know is the YouTube pros, SuperTube guys, went out of their way to create their own codecs for streaming, and it does their own proprietary type thing. They put a lot of effort into it, so it's not just software, but they did some trickery. And I say trickery because they're doing something that YouTube doesn't want them to do, which is why they're getting that access to those high quality streams. So it's sort of like a hack. It's very similar, I think, to what we're doing right now with the Pandora app, where there are undocumented APIs, so we can have these Pandora apps, right? But then as soon as Pandora changes something, the apps kind of break. Now that could be solved by putting, I think, some of the code onto a server, so you could dynamically change it as soon as Pandora does. But that requires a little more sophistication. But it's sort of similar to that. That's what the YouTube Pro guys are doing. Is they created something that's transcoding, and it does it behind the scenes, and that's how they're getting around it. Now the LazyTube guys, MetroTube, something with either they were afraid YouTube could come down on them for doing that, or they didn't want to continue doing it. I'm not really sure why they stopped, but there was some reason that they got spooked, and the SuperTube guys aren't spooked. So it's working out for them. I think YouTube Pro. I think that app stepped up big time to fill that gap.
Yeah.
I know not everybody likes it as much as MetroTube. That's totally understandable, but I think it's pretty close. And you can argue a lot of ways that SuperTube, YouTube Pro actually does more than MetroTube does. So there you go. All right, let's move on to
community.
Comments?
Yeah, comments from last time. So last time was our hangover edition, as you elegantly called it, Dan. As a result of CES. So basically, the questions that we had, the comments that we had were mostly pretty simple. Quick question from Dark Cronus even. Quick question for the next episode. Does anyone know when Netflix will release a first-party app for the UK marketplace? Great podcast, guys. Keep up the good work. Short answer, no. Netflix as a service only recently just got released over here. I've not heard any mumblings of a first-party app making its way over. I'd like to believe it will happen because Microsoft are probably going to be pushing the Netflix integration onto the Xbox consoles over here pretty quickly if it hasn't already happened and I've missed it. So I'd like to believe that something is in the offing, but we've no firm information on that. And I doubt either of you guys will have input onto the UK story. Nope.
Nope.
Next one for the next podcast. Any solid news? Sorry, this is from Kid Genius. Any solid news on Microsoft points being discontinued and replaced by cash? He's heard some rumblings recently. We talked about this a couple of podcasts ago, I feel like.
Right. We asked Joe Belfiore about that. He just waved us off. As you kind of expect. So there's no 100% confirmation. This may be like the Zune thing where, long-term plan maybe to phase that stuff out, but might be a while before that actually, happens.
So which way are you guys leaning though?
Get rid of them.
I'm get rid of them. I find the point system.
I always have points left over.
It's conversions. I just don't like, it's 1,600 points. Wait, is that good or bad? And then now I have to go down to like a free app on the marketplace, MS point conversion, type in like, oh, that's actually kind of expensive. So, like just charge me dollars. It's why either actually I really don't care as long as they make it universal. If you're going to have the marketplace points, have it everywhere. If not, just get rid of it. So that's all.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, if they're going to keep points, let me at least use the points on the phone because I have 1 billion points just sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. And I just want to make a quick correction. The Wee Bears just pointed out that Netflix has been on the console in the UK for a couple of weeks, so I did miss it happening. Therefore, hopefully something will come to Windows Phone soon.
I actually want a Hulu app big time.
You want to what?
Hulu. I don't think you have it there.
No, every time I try to watch a video through Hulu, I just get, this is not available in your region. But you probably get
in the States, it's huge, and now on Xbox here, it's nice. It's actually, I got rid of cable just to have Hulu Plus, so they have a mobile app for that would be, preferable.
Well, we get that on certain BBC videos, so.
Huh. Oh yeah, the iPlayer.
Right, the iPlayer is pretty terrible. Yeah.
The iPlayer is amazing. It's just the fact that you can't watch it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Last comment from last week was from Estelle Grace. Just says, listening right now. Thanks. Thank you for your comment. That's all I'm going to say. We're going to move over to the chat room with questions to find out what you guys want to ask. Anything at all. Please note if you sent the question some time ago, the likelihood is we won't be able to scroll back and read it. So type it out again. The question that we have got from George/Renee is they're demanding that I give them a precise Verizon Windows Phone release date because apparently it wouldn't be a proper WPCentral podcast without it. So Verizon are releasing a phone tomorrow. In fact, it's going to be called the HTC Red. It's going to be followed by the Nokia Lumia 1001 Red. And it's going to be the best phone you've ever had in your life. So there you go. Go out to the store tomorrow and buy it.
I say June. That's my date, June 2012. You'll see a Nokia on Verizon with LTE.
Really? Just to be fun, I'm going to say July. In genuine serious.
Someone asked in the chat room, does Nokia Music work in the States? No, it does not. So
does it really?
It's a licensing deal. It's one thing they don't have secured here yet. That could be solved. I don't think that's a permanent,
You're not missing out.
But right now, Nokia Music is mostly good for the markets where Zoom doesn't work. So it's just yet another option.
You are not missing out over there. It's the mixed radio stuff's kind of cool, but really, if you've got Zune Pass, you don't need Nokia Music.
Right. So, Yeah, and it's not preloaded on the 710, so it's not even an option right now.
Gibby Home is asking a question that we mentioned earlier. Do we think the Lumia 900 will be able to upgrade to Windows Phone 8? Gibby, the answer is that one of us doesn't think it will, me, and the other two think that it will be able to upgrade.
I think Nokia wouldn't put this device out there and go with AT&T and make this a hero phone if in 6 months it was going to be like already talked about being, useless.
Yeah, I don't think I actually said that. I'm on the fence.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
I'm going to stay neutral. That way, when they don't, I don't get blamed. So
Fair enough. I'll take the blame. But Dan said,
damn it, Daniel.
Daniel, not again.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I believe Nokia wouldn't. I think they're driving a lot of. We know the relationship with Microsoft is very. They work together. It's not. They're not taking marching orders, and I don't think that they would take such a big risk with the 900 here in the U.S. if by June, which is when I really start to think we'll hear a lot about Apollo. It won't be released, but that's when we'll start to really get the talk about it. It would be really odd to have a phone only out for a couple months and then already talked about it, not being updated. So now I think Microsoft at some point will have to come out and just flat out state what the position is going to be in order to, prevent those people from being worried about this stuff. So, but there we go.
Yeah. Ben Ethanol, friend of the site, asks, how much do we think of Windows Phone 8 will be previewed at WMC since Tango will likely be released?
0.
I'm going to leave that one for you. 0.
Oh, Tango or Apollo? No, Tango, yeah.
Apollo.
It's a tough one. Microsoft will have some events there. I think they'll talk a little bit about it, but I'm not 100% sure that that'll be a focus. It'll be interesting. Don't forget last year. So let's look at last year what they did. Last year they previewed Mango, right? So it wasn't much. They only gave us some teaser. Remember last year they actually showed us the whole Xbox interacting with the phone. Yeah, that was nice. Maybe someday that'll actually happen. Still waiting on that one.
Yeah. Speaking of which, actually, Druiden's asked that exact question. What integration do you think we'll see between Windows Phone 8, Windows 8, and the Xbox? And what would you like to see?
Yeah, that's a more interesting question as far as because they've actually been able to plan this out, right? So they actually sat back, said, let's do all three of these things together. And so I would hope that interaction would be richer. I would like to see, Bluetooth, NFC options. No reason why we can't do these sophisticated things like when I walk into a room, the computer detects my Windows phone and I'm the same, person and unlocks my computer. I mean, for me, these are like smartphone things, and it's been done before. I mean, stuff like this came out 2 years ago on like Android, and I think Windows Mobile even had an app that did this. These are like smartphone things that I think should happen. I think Xbox should same thing, and no reason why my Xbox shouldn't recognize and see my phone. And if I download media on one, transfer to the other, and we know that's going to kind of happen with SkyDrive. It's going to take a bigger. SkyDrive is going to really become this background cloud service for everything, where you can just kind of transfer media between the two, and so that's why I would love to see my Xbox see my phone, basically, and I would hope that happens and allow me to do cooler things with it. But yeah, the Xbox Companion app is a good example of that, and supposedly we'll have a companion app for Windows itself, the desktop OS, so that'd be kind of neat.
I'm kind of hoping in the future that maybe games on the Xbox will be able to take advantage of the phone as a companion device or a companion screen. You're playing a game and all of a sudden you get a phone call from one of the characters and you pick up and talk. Something like that would be kind of cool.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're talking about with Skype sort of sat there as potential integration into Microsoft, into Xbox chat, perhaps what we use with the Kinect is something that's been talked about. I don't see any reason why that sort of cross compatibility couldn't happen, and just sort of being able to throw a call even between Windows 8, your phone, and the Xbox would just be very, very cool.
Someone asked about what innovative uses do you see for SkyDrive and third-party developers. It's a great question. Obviously, the big one I think everybody wants is the ability to back up games and apps, information to SkyDrive. that's a great usage right there. So hopefully that'll happen. I'm really hoping that happens with Windows Phone 8 and Xbox Live games. We already know it does it with standard games on the Xbox 360. So I think that's a pretty good sign of things to come. Yeah. So,
Cool. And I've just realized that. Sorry, you go ahead.
Can they not do that today?
they could. I don't see why they couldn't, but we know that how slow they are with even getting Mango updates to these games, right? Someone was asking about OMG, the Xbox Live game, that came out a long time ago. And it's actually a really popular bullet hell type game. And Paul chimed in. So someone asked, the game's never been updated. I paid $3 for it. Why not? And he chimed in. He actually spoke to the developers, and their reaction was they were not interested in updating it. I mean,
wow,
that kind of sucks, right? So the idea of now rolling, so if Microsoft can't even force that kind of stuff, I don't know. It's a tough issue. The Xbox Live ecosystem is a little bit slow on Windows Phone as far as doing these updates. So
it is.
We'll have to see.
Good stuff. There's a couple of other things. Actually, I'm going to pick up on one more question just from AJ EK here. We already know that Nokia is going full force on Windows Phone in 2012. What do you think about HTC and Samsung? What kind of high-end devices do you think we could fathom? Great use of a word there from them. Which is an interesting question because I think HTC is still betting quite strongly on Windows Phone because their profits are down this year, and I think that part of that might be because Android interest might be waning a little bit. It could be that they're paying suddenly a lot more licensing costs to Microsoft. I think perhaps they're looking at Windows Phone potentially to be the next big seller, something a bit different. And we know when people like change when it comes to mobile technology. So
it's definitely it's a fine line for them, right? Because Nokia's success is good for everyone in the sense that if they do really well and Windows Phone becomes very popular and mainstream, HTC has a better shot at profits. On the other hand, if Nokia does too well, they'll overshadow and push everybody else out, and HTC will have less desire. Now, I think HTC is doing really well. I've been praising a lot HTC lately. Their second-gen hardware, I think, has been outstanding. So I would like to see them continue to push. I think they have a lot to offer. Same thing with Samsung. Focus S, I was a little harsh on when it first came out. Now, I think with some of their tweaks, I'm a big fan of it. I think it's still the thinnest, lightest phone out there. So Samsung definitely has a lot to offer, too. So I'm actually really happy both HTC and Samsung. And I hope that they both continue. Someone else asked, I think it was Lars Stolwajic asked, speaking of, do you think Windows Phone will get more accepted and respected by the Android and iOS fans?
Interesting question.
Yeah. No, I think it's changing. There's no doubt. The media changed. Everybody's on the side now of Windows Phone. They're seeing them as the underdog. So, yeah, certainly. I think there's always going to be the fanboy stuff, and, people taking sides. But I think as the numbers increase, I think already Apple fans already kind of respect Windows Phone. I think it's the Android fans a little bit more harsh when it actually comes to this stuff. So
it's too locked down.
Yeah.
But good. I'm going to draw the questions mostly to a close there. Thank you once again, everybody who's watched us question. And I've had a self-realization that I've got to do a quick plug because it's been so long actually since the last podcast. I didn't have a chance to plug that version 2 of our app is now live. So on the off chance that you didn't see it on any of the other website features, version 2.1 is now available for download. I'm not going to go into what changed. You've got comments and various other stuff. Go and download it, please. It means I can eat.
Yeah. So I just wanted to address Stevie Mac Jr.'s question there. Do I know if any native apps are coming to Windows Phone Marketplace? I don't know of any coming to the marketplace. However, I will stay tuned to the site. I should have a post about a native development. Secret.
Ooh.
It's secret.
Jeez.
I could tell you right now, but then someone else will probably write about it, and then that would be ridiculous. So,
it's just spelled S-E-K-R-E-T.
Yeah, S-E-A-K-R-E-T. Yep.
Excellent. We'll definitely look forward to that. So, all right, Jay, you can do the outro because
he's good at it.
Actually, before and when we do the outro, I forgot to put this in the show notes. We gotta mention the forums because Dave Blake, our hardworking forum administrator, was like, "How come you guys never mention me?"
We have forums?
Yeah. And I was like, Dave, because we obviously hate you. And I was like kidding around. But I was like, it's a good question because I was like, I have no answer. I'm like, I don't know why we don't mention the forums or Dave's, because Dave is a volunteer and yet he works at like full time. And so let's mention Dave Blake, our hardworking forum admin, and our great forums, which I would like to mention is the largest Windows Phone community out there. So, definitely participate.
Okay, I'll make sure I rewrite the outro for next time. Make sure that it's.
Okay.
So you can find us all on Twitter at WPCentral. You can find Dan at Malatester77, where sometimes he's in a good mood and other times he's murdering people. You can find George, our reviews editor, at Coppertop004. Rich, the UK guy from the site, and pretty much the guy who seems to pick up most of the bulk writing when everyone else is asleep, is at Rich Edmonds. Myself, talking too much and generally being British, at JAYT Bennett. You can find Paul, our reviews editor, at SegaCon. Rafael, at Within Rafael, where he'll continue with his crapware policing. Well, sorry, I hope you do anyway, man. You can find her, and of course, at Road Code is our good friend Matt, who writes the occasional developer piece for the site. This has been a Mobile Nations podcast. Please go to mobilenations.com for more great shows covering everything mobile. And we'd like to say thanks to the WP Central store for sponsoring the podcast. You can go along there and pick yourself up a great accessory or a battery for your phone if you find it's running a bit low. And thanks also to the great artists and the music that goes onto our podcast. You can read more about them at the bottom of this post. And a big thanks to those of us you who take part in the forums, and to Dave for administering the forums. It is the largest Windows Phone community at the moment, and it will one day make its way to the app, which I'm also going to mention at the end of the podcast from now on.
There you go. Take care, everybody.